Well, let's look and see what the Israelites are up to today. Somebody once said that it's beginning to get a little interesting where we're at. And I think the reason for that is the Israelites were, well, hey, that's where we're at now in that state. We're going to be in chapter 13. We've, over our years, we've learned about the 12 spies, know about them, and that's where we're going to be at tonight. And it says in verse 1 of chapter 13, and the Lord spoke, saying, send down men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. That's a little statement that he said before, but also it's a statement they must forget all the time. It says, which I give unto the children of Israel, of every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. It says in verse 2, and Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran, and all those men who were heads of the children of Israel. Now, I'm not going to read those because we've been over them time and time again. Every time he gets ready to do something, this is the list that he gives on that. So let's just jump to number 16 and pick it up in verse 16, because he just gives those that's going to be in charge of that. And it says, these are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Jehoshua, means, again, that word means salvation. You can tie that into Joshua in there, which means Savior, which that gives us a foundation of that over in Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8. We see that there. But because he was destined to be a temporal Savior in this culture and time, and lead them into the promised land. Now, these men that I just mentioned above, with the exception of Caleb and Joshua, we're going to see that they had those two was okay. The rest of them just kind of fall back into the trap of the Israelites that we've seen before, and we're going to see time and time again of unbelief, because they just don't remember that little statement we said up there, and so because of their unbelief at this point in time, they're entered into the promised land, which, what did God say? Did I give you? Was put off for another 38 years, and just simply because of unbelief. Now, verse 17, and Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, you up this way southward and go up into the mountains, and see the land what it is, and the people who dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many. Now, if we look at this statement, what Moses is saying, he's kind of saying the very same thing. Kind of unbelief. Because if you believe what God said, I give it to you. Now, if God says I give it to you, what really would that mean to you? He's going to give it to you. Yeah. And so it doesn't make any difference whether there's poison ivy or what out there. You just go on, we're going to get to you. But look what it says. Don't miss that. in there and see the land, what it is. Let's check the land out and see what's there. But especially the people who dwell there. Let's find out whether they be strong or weak, few or many. If you believe what God said, then that really wouldn't make any difference, would it? Shouldn't even enter into it. It's yours. I give it to you. Take it. But here we see Moses, their leader, kind of a lack of faith too. It doesn't make any difference whether they were strong, weak, or anything. God's just going to give it to them anyway. All they had to do was just go take it. It's theirs. This is the instruction that their leader gave them. And verse 19, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad. Now, if I'm not mistaken, back in Genesis, God told them what the land was, didn't he? Didn't he say something about milk and honey? That kind of make it all right, wouldn't it? So, but he says in there, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. What makes a difference? Now, if we stop here for a second, here, think, what's God thinking? He said, wait a minute. I told you what it's going to be. And he's been preparing them for this all along anyway. But again, it's simply lack of faith. And I'm afraid even today, in today's society and time, that a lot of God's work doesn't get done because of lack of faith. I truly believe that. It's just like I've had people in the years I've been in the ministry that they thought God was calling them to do this or do that. And they said, well, I need to pray about it. Well, you need to pray about it. God's calling you. He's not going to call you to do something that you can't do. He's not going to call you to do something you're going to fail at. The only reason we fail at it is because we fail. And this is about where they're at in there. And what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, and be ye of good courage and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the vine of the first ripe grapes. So verse 21, so they went up, searched the land from the wilderness of Zin. Now, that's the extreme southern boundary of the promised land. And we know that because Joshua chapter 1 tells us, or chapter 15 tells us that, or the book of Joshua when we get to it. And he said, unto Rehob, as men come to Hamath, and they ascended by the south and came unto Hebron, where Ahiam and Shishai and Talmaiah, the children of Anak were. And these could be very well giants that we've studied and read about. And we really go back about that in the fall of the angels that we saw in Genesis, I think chapter 4, I think there was 4, 5, or 6 right in there somewhere when we studied that. But really what we're seeing, if we read in here, this is nothing but Satan working. What he's trying to do, and this is all the way through, especially the New Testament or the Old Testament. Satan is simply trying to stop the lineage of Jesus Christ. He knows where that's going to come from, and so really Satan's the one's really setting the whole thing back to where they're at anyway. And Satan's job is to, well, can we simply say, he just wants to pollute the human race. And I think he's doing a pretty good job of it today, and what he's accomplished. But what he's trying to do at this point in time is to pollute that, because he knows through these people, Jesus Christ is going to come, and he was told back in Genesis what's going to happen to him through Christ. So he's trying to stop that. Now it goes on to say that now Hebron was built 7 years before Zion in Egypt, which that was one of the oldest cities in the world at that time. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bore it between two upon a staff. In other words, that had to be quite a cluster for them to have to carry it like that. So that you've got to carry grapes like that, that's plenty in there. And they brought the pomegranates and other figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol, because the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from Sincere. And they returned from searching of the land 40 days in there. Now, that shows how wonderful the land is. But so far, that's great. Now, verse 26 kind of shifts just a little bit different. Now, when they went and came unto Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came into the land where you sent us, and surely it flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. In other words, exactly what God had told him a long time ago. Nevertheless, that's the key word. Now, what God told us, boy, he's right. He's right on. But, I like the word but, but nevertheless, it's about the same thing. Nevertheless, the people be strong who dwell in the land. And the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. In other words, giants. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Now, they're right. It's right there where they're at. But they're misinterpreting what they saw. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses. Because really, this is simply a report of faithless. This is really what it was, given by the spies. And they just didn't realize what they was looking at and what it's going to cost. And said, let us go up at once and possess for it